servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so excited to have you listen or watch our show today. You know, we designed this podcast and dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a servant's heart. That purpose will lead to truly making a difference. On top of that, we want to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you. By the way, wait till you listen to my guest. All three of those we're going to hit with a home run, because when you do that, what he's doing, it's impacting your world. And a lot of people think big, and I'm not saying not think big. Let's start with our worlds and change those, and the bigger world will definitely change. And I also want you to think about, while you're listening to my incredible guest, how you're going to serve yourself today and serve others, and what impact will you create today. Let's not wait. Listen to this incredible show. You're going to love it. But right when you get done, think of a way you can serve somebody. Try to do that every day. You wake up and go, who am I going to serve today? On a side note, I met a guy 2 years ago. He made $250 million the year before doing that. So, little side note, that would be good money for all of us. And I want to thank an incredible sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of an exclusive community of high-income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from very diverse industries. Together, they're building a thought leader platform to impact and change the world. Everything I talk about in this whole monologue is impact and changing and making a difference. Yeah. That's why I bring my incredible guests on, like my guest today. Imagine building a better relationship. Just stew on that for a little bit. That's what we're going to talk about today. Peter, I want to welcome you to the show. I'm fired up.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful to be on here. So we'll have a great talk about everything that's going on online, and some of the timeless things about relationships as well.
Well, let's jump on that. Online has completely taken over our lives. Yeah. I sit in a restaurant last week, and I think every table people were just doing this. If you're watching on YouTube, looking at their phones. You know, I've done it, but I haven't looked for it. But then that's okay. That's the world. Yeah. So now online is such a presence. How do we build a relationship properly?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it goes back to the timeless phrase, you know, and it's business and in personal life. I just look at, like, you know, we're humans. In fact, I talk to people now about, we're not any longer in B2B or B2C. We're in H to H, human to human. And I think as we have more and more tech, more AI, more everything, and I'm a tech guy saying this, you're going to see more of this human component come out. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, there's been some online shifts that have already happened. These are not coming. They aren't going to happen. They've happened. And you see the results in lead generation now, where it's just dying a slow death. And so, I mean, if you guys know any sales development reps or any business development reps, ask them. They're frustrated as hell. So yeah, that's just the way it is.
And it's our bottom line. So when you say frustration, it's spilling over to family and how it bills. Yeah, it's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem.
I love that you call yourself the futurist. I love that name. But that's what led to Relatable, your product we're going to talk about. But what's the future of building relationships look like?
Yeah. Well, I think, Steve, the future of building relationships is definitely going to be a big component, is going to be online, just because we all live online. And as you said, I mean, you look at right now, I think I looked at the stat about a year ago, Steve, 96.2 or 8% of all people in the world, of the 8 billion, have cell phones. So, you know, it's a lot. And if you look too at the internet and the amount of hours that are spent on the internet, I mean, I look at things, Steve, as it's both online, it's socioeconomic behaviors, but I call them mega trends. we all know tech megatrends. AI is a megatrend, although it's not the true megatrend because that's another whole show. We could talk about that with blockchain and decentralization and all that stuff. But I won't go down that rabbit hole. But if you look at the internet, cell phones are megatrends. But there's these socioeconomic megatrends that have shifted too. And a lot are being driven by this new group, which is a majority of the population, 51% on the globe, called native digitals. And these native digitals are 51%, and they're 35 and younger, and they are all about interaction and community and building relationships online. I mean, I don't know if you have any kids, but if you know people who have kids that are in their teens and 20s and even 30s, where do they go live? They live online. They do Discord, they video game, they have friends all over the world. And native digitals, what's interesting about them, Steve, is their primary reality is the digital space. They're tourists in the physical world. Whereas you and I, we were around before the internet. Our primary reality is the physical world, and we're tourists in the digital space. So we have to, us analogs, we have experience, we have connections, we have moxie. The native digitals have the online smarts, the intuitiveness, the ability to pick stuff up fast. And so we have to integrate together. We've got to learn from each other.
That's a powerful statement. Native digitals, write that down, audience,
Yeah.
because you own a company, you're an entrepreneur, you're selling a product or service, you better know the native digitals, right?
Oh yeah, they're big. Well, and the other thing too, I will say this on one of the big behaviors, whether you're analog or digital, here's one that is already happened, and that is no one wants to be sold anymore. Everyone wants to buy. And so you look at, I mean, look, our BS meters are at an all-time high. If you get an email or if you go to a landing page and opt in, you know you're going to get pounded with emails. You go to a sales phone, you know you're going to get sold. Look at cold calling. We have AI blockers on our Android and iPhones now for all these robocalls and everything. And even people cold calling. I mean, you try getting a hold of anybody these days. Good luck. So this is the whole thing is people are not wanting to be sold, but they still want to buy. We still have things, goods, services, products, and things that we want. But we shifted from a sales funnel over to a buyer's funnel now. And that is one of the biggest, huge differences. Another one, Steve, is, as you know, and this is why you have this called a podcast, everyone's watching or listening these days. Not many people are reading anymore. In fact, the native digitals invented an acronym, TLDR. You probably heard of that. Too long, didn't read. Right? Because no one's reading these days, even us analogs. We just don't. We don't have the mental concentration to do that. And so, when I looked at what I wanted to deliver is I wanted to create something that would break down the barriers and accelerate relationships, but be able to do it at scale. I envisioned like how can someone like yourself or anybody listening to the show have a coffee chat with 100,000 people at a time? I mean, you and we're talking, we've talked before this show, developing a relationship, but that's just you and me. It's one to one. I'd love to go to your state and sit down and have dinner with you. But that means I got to get in a plane, I got to fly, I got to do all this stuff, right? And so while that's great and it creates a really deep relationship, um, you can't do that in business. You got to be able to scale it and break down those barriers and accelerate the relationship. So that's another thing. Another behavior, Steve, is which you know to be true is one size fits all marketing, gone. Everybody wants personal and relevant to their own experience, right? So when you're going to look for something, because I tell people all the time, I did a post on LinkedIn one time, it was really popular. And I told people, I said in the post, I said, do you know the best marketing tool that you could ever own? It's like a genie in a lamp. It's called your mirror. All I got to do is go find a mirror in your house, look in the mirror and ask yourself one question. How do I buy? If your answer is, I go online and do research, don't you think your customers and clients are doing the same thing?
Well said.
Yeah.
So true. And you said something earlier about, and it lost a host like us, we can lose it. We'll get back to that because I had a great thought, but it'll come back. So the other side of this is you decided I've got some answers. The futurist that you've developed Relatable. Love the name, by the way. I've told you that before. It's such a great name for a piece of software and a service. Talk about that. What's the goal and what can we see from it?
Yeah. So here's the other thing too. This is another big behavior, and this is what Relatable can do for your listeners. Right now, when people are online, people do not want to be talked at anymore. Passive video is talking at you. Email marketing is talking at you. Sales funnels are talking at you. People want to have, they don't want to have monologues. People want to have dialogues. This is this whole push towards community and interaction, right? So why we did Relatable is because I wanted to create something where you could do it at scale. It's interactive video, but our category, it's a new category of software called interactive video relationships. There's other interactive video packages out there, but I think I mentioned this to you, Steve, first time we met. It's like it goes to A to B. It's kind of like, sales funnels. And what I mean by that is if you have a significant other and you take that person on a first date, and at the end of the date, you drop down on one knee and go, hey, you want to get married? I mean, we don't do that as humans, right? We've got to go through this relationship, which is awareness, connection, engagement. That's where all social stops. I don't care whether you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're on. You can engage and that's it. But the relationship has to go further. You got to nurture, you got to build trust, you got to generate respect. And then for you and I, we're in business. It's affinity, right? If it's personal, it's intimacy. That's how we do relationships as humans. So I just wanted to create a tool that, first of all, people can come in, they see me, but I'm asking them for input and interaction because this is another massive big thing. Not only do people want to have dialogue, but they want to be heard. People want to have a voice. And so by asking them for their opinion, asking them for what do they think? I mean, we've even developed a whole reminder system for podcast shows where you can get feedback from your listener base while you're growing your listener base. And it's all done in Relatable. But doing that, but the relationship piece is, so we let them come in. We are interacting with whether it be in-screen actions or questions, but we also let them choose their own experience. So for example, let's say for me, I'm a SaaS founder or any kind of product. They'd come in, I'd be talking to them and say, well, so what do you want to learn about? This, or this. Let them choose their own experience based on their priorities, not what I want to shove down their throat, because everybody has a different priority set. Now, what's cool about Relatable with the relationship piece is while they're answering questions and being heard and doing in-screen actions, Relatable tracks all that, and you can send them other content that is personal and relevant to their answers and their actions. So now you're building this trust, you're building this relatability and connection with them because you're listening to them and saying, well, here's other content based on how you answered that you showed interest in it, right? And that's the power of Relatable and the power of interactive video relationships.
Trust, huge factor.
Yeah.
I've been here hundreds of years. You're just doing it online where we did it before. We'd not, go to somebody's office once a month, shake their hand, have a conversation, walk away. You just do it on the online.
Yeah,
that's what
I just
manage
behaviors. Yeah, I just did a tool because it goes back to what I said. People do business with people they like, know, and trust. And by the way, people share businesses with people they like, know, and trust. And we built a share factor into this thing too for word of mouth because word of mouth is still a big deal. But you and I, we used to do word of mouth, on the street corner. Hey, you check this out or whatever. But now you can do it inside this platform where you can actually send a text, send an email, send a WhatsApp, and it's the video, but you're sharing it with people because here's an example. If I shared a video with you and I sent it to text and I said, hey, Steve, this is a pretty cool piece of content. You should check it out. You'd probably click the link. I know Peter, he's a business contact of mine. He's a colleague. So versus if you got somebody from a total stranger sending you a text message, you go, I don't know this person. What are they trying to do? Spam me, right? It's that level of trust that's already built in, like you said, Steve.
Yeah. I just got one of those texts yesterday. I almost clicked that. It was probably spam or something. And we just don't. Same with the phone numbers you said earlier. You get my wife gets it. Who's that? I don't know. She just deletes the call.
Yeah.
Because I know you have some great clients. Tell us success because it's so powerful. I know somebody going, this sounds great. What kind of benefits can I see? Do you have any success stories?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have about, 40 plus companies now in our partner program that are working with us. But I'll give you an example. So we have this one lady. It's interesting. She's in AI, and she has a company called Chief AI Officer. And she just like you saw it when I showed it to you. Eyes got big. It's like, oh my God, this thing is incredible, right? And that's why I'm really grateful to be on your show to share it with other people.
Absolutely.
It's because it's an awareness thing. That's our only problem is people are not aware of this. Once they become aware and they go, wow, this is really cool. So anyway, she's big into AI. She has a lot of experiences, and she's helped companies go from 25, 50 million to up to over 100 million with her AI tools. So she knows how to grow
Mm.
companies using that technology, right? Which we're forming an agreement together so we can help each other out. But she saw what Relatable was, and man, she was like, this is exactly what I need. So she recorded the videos. It's not hard. I tell people with Relatable, all you need is your face, phone, and finger because we built it for a phone. It's very easy to use. Ask questions. You can use AI to write a script to help you write a script. You can do a manuscript, or you can just talk off the top of your head. It has a built-in teleprompter, and then it goes in and does the build. But she built an interactive experience. Took her, it's one of these where it's an evergreen, right? You set it up once and then you let it run. So I think it took her about a week. She did all the videos, but she asked people questions like, okay, based on her talk, and then she was qualifying them, right? And during those qualifications, then she sent them over to like a solution sets video that's specific to the problem, the experience that they wanted to have, right? So what does she do with this? She takes that Relatable. She goes into LinkedIn, which all of us B2B people are on. And for people who just connect with her, so they're cold, she sends that relatable experience to them. Now, these videos, Steve, on the backside, they're 5 to 7 minutes. They're not like shorts. They're not a minute. They're longer. She's getting 70% set to meeting rate
Wow.
on cold
Amazing.
DMs, 70%. So I have people doing personal, well, it takes 3 or 4 minutes to knock out a personal one. Like, so for you, for example, I do these all the time, where I would say, hey, Steve, we've been on LinkedIn. I love what you're doing with your show, Servant's Heart. And I like the impact you're trying to make. And we're trying to make an impact too. And this is what Relatable is and does. And if you ever want to, take a look at it, there's going to be an upcoming button to set a meeting with me if this resonates with you. If it doesn't, that's okay too. We can follow each other's content. I don't do any selling. So I send that out. I get 8 out of 10, 80% response rate. So, again, in fact, I just had someone I was talking to this morning who received a personal video, a relatable personal video. And you know what he said in front of this whole group? I was in a community call. He goes, you know what? He goes, the coolest thing about that was the person actually thought of me enough and took the time enough to send me a personal video. It wasn't this DM text or email. It was actually the person, and they were expressing, when I say relatable, I say, look, guys, this is a great tool. It works. It gets results. But it's more important how you think about being relatable or reconnecting with your relatability.
Yeah.
You got to be genuine. You got to be authentic. Be transparent. Tell people what is working and what's not. Be real. Be human. You don't need to be slick. You don't need filters. You don't need any of this stuff. Just talk to another person through the video. And you might want to just ask them a single question like, I talk about unique point of view and I say, what do you think? What's your unique point of view? How are you different at the end of a relatable? And you'd be amazed. It's amazing the answers I get just from that single question.
Yeah. Well, you taking two powerful things, video and question asking. If you're not doing that right now, you're making, whether it's relatable, which I hope you do, at least take a look at it, because that's been a lot of people I work with is just ask questions. And
Yeah.
now do it on video. You just take two powers and turn them into a superpower.
Yeah.
Seriously. I've known you for a few months now. That's why I love hosting these shows. I just learned something. That's powerful, audience. Think about that. Questions on a video.
Yeah.
And the other part is the engaging. Your message on the DM was engaging.
Yes.
Yeah, you were saying, I've got a product. It's like, hey, I just saw the last Venom movie. I loved it. I was on is somebody going to watch the movie? No, it doesn't fit them. Boom, next. Hey, I just saw it. That's all you're doing is, hey, I found something or I see something. You might be interested. That's all you have to do in selling.
Yeah. And it's so much different than what you talked about where someone connects and then they pitch you right away. The pitch slap, right? And nobody likes that because, and the other thing too, guys, you get this if you're on LinkedIn, right? The people that come in, they connect you and they start asking you questions in the DM. You're going to be sold. That the hairs go up on the back of your neck and you go, that's why I'm saying our BS meter is at an all-time high. You cannot act that way anymore with people and get the results. And if you do, I tell people, people tell me, well, you know what? Yeah, my email the click-through rates are down, but I'm using AI and I'm pushing out the numbers. I go, yeah, you're also damaging your reputation and brand by doing that because you're annoying a hell of a lot of people. And so it's like we have to stop this nonsense. That's the
Yeah.
point I'm making.
Yeah, and I'm going to be weird. This is a weird comment, but I remember as a young guy in my 20s, I'd go out with a guy and he would say, and we know people, guys like this, hey, I talked to 10 women, one of them will give me a phone number.
Yeah.
He knew it every single time. And that's all they're doing is the numbers game.
Yeah.
You
It
want
is.
short term.
The other thing too, Steve, this is part of the relatability thing is if your focus is on the person as a transaction, you're all wrong. The focus should be a person as a relationship. The transaction will come as a result of that. I just talked to a guy that, I mean, we're probably going to do some business together, but we had it was supposed to be 30 minutes and ended up being an hour and a half. I think it was like when you and I talked, it ended up being a lot longer just because we were both curious about what we did. And it wasn't about, hey, I want to sell you this and I want to sell you this. It was more like, hey, tell me what you're doing, brother. I just want to learn from you. Right. But this guy is doing some big, big things. But the point I was making is, I did not go into that saying, okay, I'm going to tell him about Relatable, what it is, what it does, and you need to have this and blah, blah, blah. I just talked to him. I said, hey, what are you doing in your business? He came in during conversation. He goes, I checked out this Relatable thing. It sounds like it's fantastic. I'd love to learn more about that. And I said, well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I have some more questions for you, right? So it's about being curious. It's about understanding, how does that person put their shoes on? How do they put their pants on? How do they live their life? What's important to them? And what matters to them, then I can weave into, okay,
Yeah.
well, there's
The
a
whole picture.
possibility here for us to do business. Maybe. We'll see.
I love what you just said about, hey, I love Relatable, that story. Because audience, the tip you probably didn't hear, I'm going to tell you, he sold them already, but he didn't keep pitching them. Sold him in the fact he wants to know more. That's a sale to me, in a sense of the door is open to make sense. You just said, hey, let me learn more about you. I know the reason why you do it because I know you well enough. So you can see if Relatable really is a fit for him. And
Yeah.
here's why it's a fit. Oh, I love that, Peter. That is so powerful. Oh my God. Audience, this is, if you're not taking notes, listen to this show again because you're missing out on so many things. We're getting to the end of the show, and I want to bring you back for part 2 down the road here because
Okay.
you've done so much in your life and this. Somebody's listening, they're going, okay, Peter, I love this. What's the first step I take to start building relationships in my business?
Well, the first step, okay, so I tell people the first step is your focus, which is quit focusing on the person as a transaction, focus on the person as the person in a relationship. But secondly, you know, I told you our value, and you heard this from me. You got to think about things in terms of how can I look, your whole show is called servant leadership, right? How can I be a servant to others? How can I help? Our first, right at the top, our first value statement is how can we give to others? Everybody, we know how I don't have a big company, but everybody in our company knows that, and everybody looks to give first because I don't know, I read Robert Cialdini stuff. I've done neuroscience research, all this kind of stuff. But I will say this, there is kind of a natural, intuitive reciprocity when you're reaching out and saying, look, I just want to give to you. And if it works out the other way, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's like I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you know what? Kindness is free. You can smile at many people during the day. It doesn't cost you a thing, but you know what you're doing and impacting in somebody's life by doing that. You may have a person that is so down, so depressed, they might even be thinking about, taking their life. That one smile could have saved their life. If you think about kindness and empathy and compassion in that terms and focus on those things as your relatability, the business will come from it.
That is the servant heart mantra right there, audience. Write that down because it works. It's working for me every day. I know it's working for Peter because when we first met, like you said, we talked for an hour and a half. We didn't transact at all. We didn't even talk numbers. We just talked, how can we support each other? It's like, I feel it's like two meteors colliding and building this beautiful thing. That's what it was. So let's end with a fun improv question.
Okay.
So you've got a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. You're sitting in one of the chairs, obviously. Who are you inviting, dead or alive? Why are they coming? And what food would you order?
Okay, so table of four. So that means I got three other people. I would
Yep.
probably invite Abraham Lincoln
Mm.
because I loved what he did as a thought leader for the country in a time of one of the most tumultuous times in American history. And he brought us through that. I would also bring Gandhi because Gandhi was a person that had no power from a political perspective, but he had all the power from a leadership perspective and an empathy and compassion perspective. And probably the third person is I'd bring Mother Teresa. Because if you look at the true, servant's heart, Mother Teresa was a person that just gave. And I have a sister that passed away from cancer
Mm.
who was a lot like Mother Teresa. And Billy Joel, only the good die young. It's kind of true, I think. For all of us who are left on this earth, what does that
Yeah.
make us, I guess? But
Yeah, I know.
I would have that, and I guess as far as ordering food, I probably order all different kinds of food from around the world because I've traveled a lot, and I think that having a diversity and having different tastes and different things. I'll leave with this one thing that kind of extends beyond this the dinner question you gave me, and that is, Steve, I have traveled to the Middle East. I've been to Abu Dhabi. I've been to Saudi Arabia. I've been all over Europe. I've been all over Asia, China, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia. Do you know what the coolest thing I learned as a young man, Steve? I learned that no matter you could sit in Abu Dhabi, our culture is like so different from the American culture, right? And how they view things and how they treat women, I don't agree with that. But you know what? When you sit down with anybody, even through a translator, and you start talking about universal principles of fairness, kindness, love, empathy, it is the same all over the world. And that really dawned on me. And that ties in with your servant heart, because if you can connect with those universal principles, that's what I call being relatable. If you can connect in that way, you're going to be timeless and you will never run out of relationships that you can have in your life.
Man, that's so well said. Quite interesting. Your table of three servant hearts, well, four, because you are as well.
Yeah.
Those three people were never wealthy.
Yeah.
Successful, but never wealthy. I want you to think about it. Thank you, Peter, because it dawned on my head. It's like, yeah, were they abundant? Yeah, in many different ways. They were taken care of. They weren't starving, but they weren't Elon Musk wealthy.
Yeah.
Just understand that.
Yeah.
And I think Elon Musk is another guy I'd have at my table just because he's so courageous in what he does. Don't care about the political side of all that. That's not what I'm talking about. So with that being said, how can people reach out to you and learn more about Relatable and building relationships and support you?
Yeah. So, Steve, our website is home.relatable.pro. So home.relatable.pro. We're just putting up a new video up there that talks about just what Steve and I talked about here, and then about 70 or 80 seconds. So you get the full picture. And then there's a free trial up there. If you want to connect with me, I hang out on LinkedIn, and I know Steve does too. You can just look up Peter Lisoskie and connect with me or follow me, whatever you want to do. I tell people all the time, I ended up being a top voice blue badge, which I think they said 0.004 something percent of the people in the world. And guys, I didn't do anything. The only thing I did was express my unique point of view. I didn't game the algorithm. I didn't do anything. I just talked about how am I different? What's my point of view? What do I stand for? What do I stand against? And I think that's kind of how I got it. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying, guys, look, we're here to antagonize the status quo. Every single one of you. You want to create impact and movement, antagonize the status quo. Do your different. Create your impact. And then impact with motion is a movement. And we're trying to support the relationship economy movement with Relatable. That's all we're doing.
And I'll tell you what, he was engaging you brought it back full circle. You're a genius because that's what he did. He engaged. Because I've got it. Well, I think you are. At least one person does. And I have a top voice as well. And I'm the same way. I'm contributing my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm engaging. I get you probably the same thing. Hey, great contribution. Hey, I learned something, whatever. Maybe we all start doing that. It's great. And I learned something from a top sales guy. He's a multi-billionaire. He says, you have an ego. You mentioned that. Now I realize it's called empower greater outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's what Peter does. So do me a favor, if this resonates, which it should, because it does with me, not that I'm going to answer, reach out to him. Meet him. Yeah. He connects with you on LinkedIn. He did with me and many people I've connected them with. The other thing is subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's not for what you think. Yeah, subscribe. I'd love 1 million subscribers that know this message. More important, the stuff that Peter put out today, $1 million tips. You want to listen to it over and over, it's easy to find that channel when you're subscribed. I'm 20 channels I'm subscribed to because I can just click, find that show or find that information. It's easier to find. But even more important, you run into somebody that says, I want to be more relatable. I want to build relationships in my business. I'm looking for a tool. Well, what do? You send them that YouTube link and they can learn about Peter, his passion for this. And now when they jump on a call with Peter or his staff, they have an understanding the power of this. And if somebody says, it's not for me, next. But that's the power of subscribing. The other thing is comment on the YouTube channel. If it's for Peter, I'll make sure he gets it. Hey, critique the podcast. Me and Peter do these podcasts, and he was on my podcast to help you. If we're not doing that, we're not motivating, inspiring, or educating you, we need to make some changes. I think we are, but any critique would be great. As always, me and Peter want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.